Yes, we are live now. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kanchan Kanojia, Global Research Head and Program Head from ARDEAF Foundation, 11 Days for Earth's Healing, a global movement. I welcome you all eminent speakers for an interactive session and knowledgeable discourse on climate change and net zero targets. Is India ready for a decarbonization plan? As we all know, climate issue is going to affect every facet of the economy, which will further lead to substantial changes in how we do business or in the business culture. For sure, that it will have a deeper impact on the employees, triggering it to the labor market and eventually create a ridge in the communities in which they live in. Now, this claims a much better and not just the expertise and skill sets to address a transformative and a strategic model. We cannot deny the fact that every employee has a role play in this phase of just transition towards a net zero. Hereby, it becomes very important for us to address the prospective gaps, barriers, and challenges in order to complete this mission. There might be aversion in the employees to accept the low carbon model. Do we have the right expertise, resources, skill sets to develop this sort of a model? Are we ready for upskilling and empowering the employees? There are a few questions which needs to be addressed urgently. I believe even after having substantial financial policies and technological solutions as well as lots of resources, but we need to intensively invest in building up human capital because it will smoothen the road for just transition. Thank you so much. And now let me introduce you to the director, CEO of our ARDEA Foundation, Zunaid Memon. Off to Zunaid Memon.
Uh, thank you so much for introducing me, Kanchan. Unfortunately, because of my problem, most of the guests are not able to be here on this forum at this moment. I'm extremely sorry about this delay and this issue which we faced. I would say maybe continue, Kanchan, you can continue with the guests first. Let me come in the end and have a discussion on our everything that will make more sense. So I will over to you, Kanchan, and you can please carry on with the guests first. Let them speak
Okay.
because already things are delayed. I don't want to waste any more time on this.
M. Karthik is from Environmental Impact and Sustainability Division, CSIR, National
Okay.
Environment Engineering Research Institute. His area of specialization is
Yeah.
wastewater management, climate change, environmental impact assessment. He has
Oh,
several scientific publications and technical reports to his credit. We are excited to have you here. Off to M. Karthik.
Karthik,
Yes,
Karthik, you
you
have to
are.
unmute yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kanchan, for inviting me for this program. So I think this can give us various perspectives which I can share, which I have learned over a period of 2 decades. So I think as you put along the questions, I think I can answer on that basis.
Okay. So, do you think the environmental problems are the result of sustainable and irresponsible consumption pattern of ours?
Yeah,
The environment,
this is
the environmental problems that are happening, it is result of the sustainable and irresponsible consumption pattern that we are having. Is it due to that?
Yeah, partially the answer is true because there is no limit to the greed for growth. We need to put an limit to the growth. Like we can't have a continuous growth. So when we have a growth without equity, and I think that is what the problems for the society comes in, even for the environment. So you need to think whether we need to have a unsustainable growth, or whether we have to have an equal distribution of wealth and resources for the humanity. So that's a very big ethical questions. I don't know. I think humanity has been thinking on these lines since long, but few of the governments have come into place, and they are working on that, how to make that possible, bring equity between growth and distribution of resources to all. I think that should address your query.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir. And sir, I would like to have your views on do you think India as a country, like a developing country, is ready to take this into stride? You know, because there it poses lots of challenges being a developing country. So, how do you think what should be the strategy that can be used to develop to achieve the goal that is, you know?
Yes, as I think all of you are aware of our government's commitment to 2070 net zero emissions in COP26. Yes, we can definitely do that. Technologically, we have means and resources to do that, and our government is very sincerely following all the mechanisms how you can achieve that. Yes, again, the question comes is that we may be able to achieve net zero emissions even before 2070. But then, when you say net zero emissions, that accounts, everything is on the optimum stage of development. Like that means human development has achieved a state of height. So it assumes that, because now when we have a lot of people who have not achieved growth, or we have not seen their needs being fulfilled, I think in that case it becomes difficult to achieve. So we can achieve 2070 net zero emissions definitely, but then how we are going to go about how we can distribute our resources, that's a matter of concern, because we have a lot of issues, particularly with respect to pollution, particularly with respect to air pollution, water pollution, solid waste management. So we need to do consistently on these three platforms for environment to recover. So maybe that will take about 20 to 30 years for us to clean these three bodies: air, water, and soil. So it will take about 20 to 30 years. Yeah.
So, and do you think what can you just tell us like what are the major challenges you faced while because you have written lots of reports as we see. So the major challenges that the people face actually who are working in these sectors, you know. So can you elaborate on that?
Yes, when you're addressing these issues, like basically, my interest is in wastewater management. So we are into designing and construction of CETPs, effluent treatment plants, and sewage treatment. What I come across is that many of the times we do implement these systems in place, but what happens is that effectively how it is run is a matter of concern. A lot of there is a need for skill development. We don't have sometimes people who are trained enough to operate these plants, because if you have to address these environmental issues, you need people not only from the top. We have a lot of people at the top, but we don't have people who can work at the ground level. It means that people who will be operating these machines, these mechanisms, these systems. So we need to put more people into this. We can't just bring in a diploma pass out fellow and directly put into these kind of treatment systems, and make them operate efficiently. It's not possible. So training and skill development is one issues which I have seen across projects, where when many times why our systems fail is because they don't have proper training and placement. That could be addressed. And besides that, that's the only thing which I look from a technical aspect. But there are social aspects which there are few people who come into this field who would like to work in waste. So normally when we say people who are working in waste, we find rack pickers, these kind of people. So even if these people are trained properly, probably I think our systems can improve very well.
Okay, okay.
That's
So,
my point
last
of
one
view.
more question for you. You have worked on vulnerabilities basically. So, I just wanted to know, do you think that the spatial pattern of this vulnerabilities and exposure can pose a threat to the adapting capacity of the population?
Definitely. See, vulnerabilities and exposure, they are all same thing. See, uh, what we can do is, so this is a big social issue. We have a population of about close to 1.4 billion, and how much people are really educated. If you see, maximum people who are exposed or vulnerable is people who are having no idea about what they are working, what environmental exposure they are getting working in waste industries. So I think that's what I said. Now we need a lot of inputs related to skill development, training, and then a decent level of government support in terms of health aspect, because many of the people who are working in waste related subjects, they don't have proper health facilities for treatment of their any health issues. They need some kind of government support. So I think some of the states are very good enough providing health facilities, primary and secondary health facilities. But I think that should be replicated in large numbers.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Karthik, for being here and helping us understand some of the challenges that we really face. And we'll move on to the second speaker, that is Sunil Kumar Pajar. He is an IT industry veteran. He got inclined towards sustainability and co-founded a venture to promote living ecologically through eco life. The prime emphasis being transition towards ecology consciousness and happy organization, leveraging various aspects of sustainability like holistic health management, wastewater management, and energy management. He has helped community adopt composting. He conceptualized the project water augmentation through efficiency and recharge. The project well started a functional model for the rainwater harvesting, that is Jal Shakti of Ministry of Government of India. Off to Sunil. So Sunil, so
Thanks,
can we
Kanchan.
have your perspective on the subject? Yeah, hi, so much. Welcome to the Innovative app.
Thanks, Kanchan, for inviting me here, and thanks for your nice overview. Uh, I want to give the positives first and align to the subject which we are saying, is India ready for net zero? Or at a broader level, I see there are about 5-6 building blocks which a country needs if it has to march towards any sustainable development goals or targets, whatever we might call it. And luckily, I see India is well placed in most of those building blocks. The first and foremost I usually see is the cultural. Our indigenous way of life has been our asset for long, I think for ages. It's only now in last few years we are hearing words like circular economy and material wise. But if we just go back maybe 40-50 years back, that was part of our life. Every day people were wise about material, what to wear, what to eat, how to handle the waste. Every household in a rural was just decomposing their waste in an organic manner, and what they were producing was predominantly organic. And even for their clothing or how to recycle the clothing. Today we might coin a word circular economy, but they were all living circular economy without even knowing what circular economy is, because they are practicing. So I see as a country and our age-old traditions probably can be asset in times to come, because we have it in our genes. We were wise about water, we were wise about materials, all our houses were with organic matter. There was no toxic in our houses earlier. So we just have to roll back and move back. And we are seeing that in last few years. If you see, a lot of things which were in the past is coming back, maybe in a new platter, in a new name or a new format, but that's good. And that itself, in our cultural issue, one big element I see, whether people have written books, and it's a known word now, jugaad, we've accepted it. Before Tesla or any electric vehicle came in, we already have two-wheelers, those 4 or 5-seater tricycles, 4 cycles, all across all the cities. Nobody owns the patents. No manufacturer makes it. Every city has a different manufacturer. They make it, and almost all our autos or polluting vehicles are out. Every city, small, even I go around in the rural, I see that battery powered is already there across, and nobody knows what is the count. I think maybe a couple of millions of those are already there, which means we are already avoiding a lot of fuel in place by using them. The second important issue in our is the country's location. So we are lucky to be placed in a very good geographical location, by virtue of which we get good decent rainfall every year. We have good sunlight in that half of the country. We get a good forest cover. We have Himalayas on the top to handle our monsoons, and we have a good coastline to handle different aspects of sustainability. So we are lucky, and we see that benefit, that that location is an advantage for us. Third important element I see is the women in leadership. Our country for ages have been having movement, and it's a global accepted norm. When I work in corporates, and now enough literature has been published that wherever women is there in the leadership, sustainability usually has an advantage. They are far more conscious as compared to the opposite sex. And we always were lucky that in our household, the lady of the house was in the leadership role for what to eat, how to handle things in a household. And when they moved into corporates or leadership roles in the government or even at the prime minister level, we have always benefited. And I see that we will benefit because of that cultural benefit. Now coming to the other two elements, which today's in era, we can't move anywhere without funds. So the government of the day, which is, I would say, governance. We have reasonably good governance in last few decades. If you see, probably since 1991, we are very flexible. We change, move. In last few years, we have adopted good standards. We are outpassing our own targets for solar energy adoption. For electric vehicles, we had FAME 1, then FAME 2. We are moving pretty fast. And by grace of God, our economy is growing. Maybe not as good as we want, but we are growing economy. So mobilizing funds even from other outside or within the country through our own taxation is not an issue. We have enough funds to. So I see that the building blocks are all very positive. I want to add it to what Mr. Karthik was saying. The challenge in our country is the resource management. We have enough water, but how do we use that water? We have enough food, how do we use that food? That has been a challenge for last few decades, I think. Like I know, since I work in water, we hardly believe in recycling water. And even if by the norm of the country or the rules are there to recycle the water, we really don't know what to do with recycled water. I was reading the other day, the average statistic across the India, only about 40% or 30% of the water is recycled. And out of that recycled water, only 25% is actually being used. So what are we doing is, we are spending energy and resources to recycle the water, but then we don't know what do we do with the water. 75% is going. So that resource management, and same goes in waste also. How do we handle waste? We are spending a lot of energy in carrying a toxic waste outside 30 kilometers, and then we don't know what to do. So if we can put those checks in places, that our money is spent wisely, the resources we use is wisely, then I think we are in a well-placed position to handle all those aspects. And I think we are showing the world that we are a leader in sustainability. I was shocked when a country like US said, oh, we don't want to be part of this Paris climate, we want to walk out. India never said so. We said we have our own challenges. We have a developing country. I can't just one fine day shut my coal plants. We will take gradual transition. But we have been always open. And I think I see India going to have a leadership position pretty soon as far as sustainable development goals. We will show the world how we do it.
Sunil, can I add a small question here? Whether you're talking
sure,
about
please.
water?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
As per my information, maybe I'm totally wrong, that we hold about 17 to 18% population of the world.
Sorry?
We hold about 17 to 18% population of the world.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And the drinkable water or the usable water, what we have, only 4% of the total water resource of the world. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Probably less than 4%.
So
all these bigger numbers are probably skewed in the positive side, but I would say you are right. We probably have 19% of the population and maybe 2% of the fresh water of the world resources.
So, does that need to be communicated to the public in general? Because maybe we waste water so much, thinking हमारी नदियों में पानी पड़ा हुआ है, हमको पता भी नहीं होता हमारे पाप.
So that's what I'm saying. So 3 years back, I embarked on a mission that I'll make people water wise. So that's when Kanchan was telling, I took a flag model to give a perspective. We are not water deficit by design. Israel gets 100 mm of rainfall in a year, and they are a water exporting country. And we get an average of 1100 to 1200 mm of rainfall across the country. And half of our country is water deficit for half of the year. All you see the pictures is there are tankers lined up and people jumping on top of each other to get a... So it's a resource management issue. By design perspective, God has been kind to us. We are not... And our annual quota of rainfall, we get it every year. There could be variations that some year we get 800 mm average or 900 mm. But historically, if we look at 100 years, God has been kind. Our monsoons don't just go off the track completely.
But what is the solution? See, our basic idea of all these discussions are, see, there are solutions. We can't depend on government on all the solutions. We as a responsible citizens, we also need to, that's why we also created this movement where we're talking to people and trying to create awareness. What is the solution? Maybe if you have some thought about it, any solution for that?
You have asked a very apt question. So that's why in my own personal life, I'm an optimist. And I just say, whatever we have picked up anything, I need to start practicing. I come from a technology background and I was a typical millennial who was buying double than what I need and I was wasting. About 2015-16, I realized what's happening over my waste so I'm a home composter since 2015. Wow. And my household in Jaipur was a roof, 3,300 square feet of rooftop constructed in 2000. I never knew that this water can be utilized. 7 years back, the entire rooftop water, by virtue of gravity, comes down through a pipe. I put up a filter in the pipe and I collect the water in my tank and I reuse. Now look at a perspective that entire urban flooding in India is not a government failure. The failure is of individual houses. The moment you construct a house on an individual plot, which was a soil earlier, you increase the coefficient of the surface by 9 times. Which means entire rainwater on your rooftop, there is no absorbent. It has to come down. And in 95% of houses, the rainwater is left into the sewage. Whereas sewage was planned to handle only the sewage. So during the rains, the sewage gets 100 times more water. And as a result, it backfires. You see it waterlogging on the roads.
Correct.
If we can start saying that I take up responsibility for my own, which means I handle my waste. I call it my waste, my responsibility. I handle my rainwater. God has been kind to give me rainwater on my rooftop. I will put it to a better use. How many of us we are...
I'm just cutting you off in between. I'm really sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, no
what
problem.
Happens when we are doing ourselves? We are at least little exposed for people. Maybe we can have a discussion on topics like this. But in general, half the people are living in slums. They also already live in the dirt and the under the vest or maybe over the vest. How we expect them or how we can involve them in our process? You see, this is the most important thing because a larger audience is like that. I think Sunil has a large number of people are from a certain community or a certain background who may not even have the luxury of throwing the garbage somewhere. If you expect them to do management, we may have to come to a solution which is easy for every individual. The moment we expect people to do maybe 2 garbage bags, 1 blue and 1 green, just for the sake of differentiating between the garbage, just for the example purpose, how many people actually in an apartment or in a building does that? So forget about the Aam Aadmi. I'm talking about the people who have the capacity to do this, who may live in apartment, who live in a better places. They don't do it. We may have to come up with a little more easy solution, I would say, because that's how we are. The humans are. We don't want to do any tough tasks. We don't want to take tough tasks.
See, unfortunate. Unfortunately, there is no easy solution for waste management. We have to take a responsibility. I'll give you an example. The Gurgaon, where I live, is a very pretty new city. Last 20 years only it has come up. And the township I live, there were 600 apartments. And we were all throwing mixed waste. 2014 onwards, phenomena changed. And today our society segregates the house waste and we compost 400 kg of wet waste every day. And now Gurgaon has 30 townships which do that. Now, my question is why 300 townships of Gurgaon cannot do it? It's not part of the failure is in the government, if you can say that the enforcement is not that strong. But part of the failure goes back to the houses. Even in my society, 5%, 10% of the houses, all well-educated, still have challenge in segregating their waste. They feel it below their dignity to do it. So the ownership, I always say the ownership has to start from my household. If we are 6 or 8 here in the panel and there are hundreds in the audience, can we go back and pledge that, okay, I'll handle my waste, I'll handle my water responsibly? There are ways, easy ways to do it. You don't need two bins.
Number of population, what we're talking about in a country like ours and overall worldwide. I'm not only talking about, see, right now, the situation we are in, it's not only about India or in one country, it's about the entire earth is in trouble. Because of the way we have, as Mr. Karthik also said, we have already overdeveloped things and used the resources which our world had. And now we are, so, and it's a huge population needs to be tackled and talked about, and we have to give the easy solution or maybe some kind of incentive driven solutions. That's why people do it, because we are, humans are again back to, if I'm gaining something, I may do it. If I'm not gaining, I might not do it. So we need to come up with, see, right now this forum is open for us to discuss. Maybe we can always come back with the ideas which can become easy and incentive driven in the plans, where people actually take it as a challenge. We find this will give me some money or this will give me some reward if I keep doing these practices. It's just a thought. Yes, Mr. Karthik, please.
Yeah, I will add to Dr. Sunil Prashar point of view. Thing is that with respect to solid waste management, any other waste management, probably most of the cities are doing. They're all catching up with cities like Indore. You know, now each city and town wants to reach that level. I think there's a kind of competition. Yes, as you all said, that there is a problem of handling of mixed waste. Like in Nagpur, where I am come from. So we see this garbage vehicle which is coming there. The person simply refuses if you give a mixed waste. So there is a kind of a feedback mechanism by which the people who are going to throw mixed waste, they will have to take back their waste. So even I have seen that school kids nowadays, they are aware in our areas. They are saying that don't mix this. They say blue color, green color. You know, so there is a kind of awareness. But I think this awareness need to be taken to next level, because it's only a matter of these waste management agencies, they do that, but you need to promote more dissemination is required. Why what is the problem? Because everywhere you see advertisements saying that green color box, red color box, blue color box, whatever it is, but the impact of mixing the waste has to be slightly disseminated, which is missing sometimes. So probably I think I have personally seen why it is important to harvest rainwater in Nagpur. Few schools, myself and my colleague Dr. Sushant Watt had gone and promoted rainwater harvesting. We have implemented in our own houses and apartments of rainwater harvesting. So if you catch children at early age, telling them what is the issue of mixing waste, I think by another 5 to 10 years, India will reach the level where you can handle waste easily. You don't have a problem of mixed waste.
So shall this be introduced at school level, Mr. Karthik? Shall this be introduced at the school level when we are actually during our education? If the kids learn all these things as a part of their curriculum, it might be better exposure. It might be better idea. If you bring this, Mr. Singh, you wanted to say something?
Zunit, can I introduce Mr. Singh? Can I introduce so that we follow the conversation? Yes, Mr. D.P.Singh, welcome. And he's from the general group Head Environment, CC and Sustainability, JSPL. He has a 30 years of experience working for environment, utilities, and wastewater management. So let's hear
Hello.
it from you, Mr. Singh.
Is it my connection
Okay,
which is
thank.
dropping out, or it's happening for everybody?
It's okay.
It's your connection
It
only,
might
Sunil.
drop.
Oh, I'm on the
Okay.
road. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you so much, ARDEAF Foundation, for giving this opportunity for us to speak here on this forum. You are doing a wonderful job. So let me congratulate this foundation for having taken this crucial task of getting involved into the India's journey towards climate change and net zero target. So we were deviating perhaps from the target of is India ready to take up this challenge of net zero? I think yes, India has proven it by installing 100 gigawatts of thermal solar power. So that is the achievement that we have, commitment and achievement that we have made in past, say 6-7 years. And the target was for 2022, whereas we have achieved this in this year as itself. So that itself shows the resilience and the capacity of India to be meeting net carbon zero. Now the question is whether it is equitable. Who is the most polluter country? It's US. US, China, Canada, they are the most polluting countries. And per capita emission, if you see, we are on the lowest side. So it has to be equitable, and we are a developing country. So we are already there, and we are ready to take up this net zero challenge. But then the fund has to come from somewhere. And the developing country who have polluted the environment, and these pollutants are going to last for over 200 years now. So it is not going to go away. Even if we reduce or restrict the temperature to 1.5 degree by, say, this century, the pollutants which are there in the atmosphere will remain there. So the other gentleman was talking about the water stress. So Israel is adopting drip irrigation. So in our agriculture, 84% of the water is being used in the agriculture. We talk about save water during saving. It makes no sense to me. The major polluter or major contributor of water stress is agriculture. So how best we can utilize the water in agriculture is a prime concern. So drip irrigation is a solution. Now interlinking the rivers, that is another thing. And I was just hearing that we are treating and recycling water, but it is not being used. Even recycling is more important, because once you recycle, you are saving the pollutant going into the rivers. So most of the time people treat it. Earlier it was not being treated and being discharged. Now it is being treated and discharged. Maybe it is not reused to that extent because people are reluctant to use that polluted water. Because sewage water, if you ask someone to drink, nobody will drink. But in our plant, I have seen this wastewater being recycled through RO, and we were able to drink it, because once it passes through RO, then obviously it is a potable one. The problem is RO water is even not suitable for human being. So there are a lot of debates going on and a lot of research also going on. So if we talk in broader perspective, India is on the right track. We are having 62% of our power generation from coal, and we are coal-rich country. So under the pressure of international community, we should not bow down and stop all our coal-based power plants. Rather, we can go for combined gasified cycle type of power plants. Almost 62 megawatt of power plant is under construction. And we will be installing another 700 megawatt of power in due course. So a lot of things are going on. India has got a water mission, India has got Himalayan mission, India has got national green mission, India has got national hydrogen mission. So there are so many things that is on the anvil, and people are working. See, steel being most dominant in major factor in carbon emissions. Our carbon, say, we produce the steel at 2.60 tons of carbon per ton of crude steel. This is our net emission. So we have to reduce it to 1.8 tons of carbon per ton of crude steel. So these are the strategies the government of India is thinking, and cement plant cogeneration has come, clinkerization through waste burning in the kilns. So many things are coming up. And as regards Mr. Karthikeyan was talking about the skill. Skill is very important. Even we are having ITI. They are very good, excellent people who can operate the plants. I have seen people operating the plant in Gurgaon. They are generating power from it. And it's a wonderful plant supplied by the Triveni. So we need to train the skill. India is not having that talented manpower. Everybody cannot be from IIT and NITs. But if people are there from ITI, even in diploma, even if they are trained well, they'll be able to do a better job. So India
But,
is poised. India is ready. India is ready to take the challenge, and we will be able to meet it. But then international community has to pay for it. That is the condition we should put and embark on. Thank you.
Mr. Singh, I just wanted to understand from you the two things, because you mentioned about that we've already achieved the target of by 2022, the target of the solar power.
Solar power.
Solar power. Is it because of the government's intervention, or it's because of the private player came in picture in last few years, and that's how we have managed to do it? What was the main core cause?
See, government is the driving force behind any policy being implemented in the country. It never happened in past 70 years, whereas other countries were doing so. But India could do it only after 2015. It's top-down driven approach. If the top is ready to put challenges, people are ready to accept it.
But in that case, why we are not even thinking of hydropower when we have the capacity? Let's say Nepal throws a lot of water to us every year. If we start using that water efficiently for the hydropower, we will save a lot of life. Then why we not?
You are right. You are right. It's a geopolitical situation. It's a geopolitical situation that stops us from taking advantage of Nepal and other top rivers from where we can generate power. Our hydropower is around 12%, I think. 12% is around, hydropower is 12% around. So I mean, when there is a possibility of the problem with the solar power plant is the efficiency. It's only 18 to 20% efficiency is available from the most modern solar power plant. So that is the bottleneck, and the cost was very high. So that was the reason it couldn't come up. Now because of,
if we manage hydro thing, especially why Nepal I mentioned, because every year we get flood because of that water. If that water is managed for the right reason, we save a lot of lives. We will also save our soil, and we will also generate water. Where we are.
You are right. Bihar is suffering. Bihar is suffering because of the Nepal issue, and
Correct.
it's not in the past 2 years or 4 years. It has happened over 60, 70 years. We are into treaty and bound by the international bodies, and we cannot overturn things. Though the government is doing the best it can, and we have very capable people like Mr. Saraswat in National Planning Commission. So they are doing great job, and they are very keenly watching all these developments, which could not happen in past 70 years. Things are changing now. Interlinking of river is a big step ahead, which they have not been.
The interlink
that is done.
Was a great idea. That was a great plan. No doubt about it.
Yes.
Mr. Singh,
In Biswasaraya, yes.
It is related to the trade policy, a bit different from what we have been discussing, but I would like to know your views on it. Do you think a strategy, is regarding the trade policy is required? How we do the trade right now? Does it pose a great challenge to growth of economy in the developing countries with this climate issues going on? So do you think we need a strategic plan of action to do the trade with other countries or in the countries? So what's your view on that?
Okay, you have put in a very apt question. See, nobody likes other countries to grow. That is the one thing we have to understand, that all this is a very difficult world, and only fittest will survive. And who is in the position of driving, they will not like others to grow faster. Why dollar is increasing and rupee is not increasing? So if you just check that disparity, probably with the same kind of facility, we are paying more there in US and less they are paying in India. So that is one aspect. Nobody would like to change its status quo. Now, a few days back, there was a UK convention of international water treaty, that we cannot throw anything into the sea. It has come up for discussion now. Ministry of Steel has sent us this letter about our views. Now, UK cannot be trusted just like that. It thinks 50 years ahead from now. And 2 days back, if you are aware, they have lifted this masking policy. Now, no mask is required in UK.
No,
How come
mask.
they are different from UK? And it has come especially when there is election in India. So there will be lot of crowd, lot of use and cry all way around. So I will not go into the political situations because nobody wants India to have a strong leadership. That is for sure. And they will do everything. It came earlier, they imposed ISO. You do the ISO, then only your materials will be sold in the international market. Then quality concerns were issued, then Six Sigma, then DPM, now ESG, before that sustainability. And if you go and see the chronology, every time India faces the tune, our production gets reduced because you don't have the certificate to sell your product in China and other developing countries. So it has to be on the equitable platform. Per capita emission of India is much less, and America is very high. Even by 2050, our emission would be much less. We have committed 22% lesser emission in 2050. So we are there to support the international committee because our lifestyle is such, and we can adapt to any changes. But India is going to become the superpower, that is for sure, if we are resilient about our policies and if we are very concerned about our interest, which past governments have failed to do so.
Mr. Singh, I appreciate your thought on this. I really appreciate that. But the
Thank
only
you.
problem I would say in this is right now we can't be talking about only one country is in one aloof thing. Now we have to start thinking like a global citizen. The point of view or a thinking process has to change. We all need to think like a global citizen that this is the problem which we are discussing now. It's not our problem alone, it's a global problem. And we all have to come together to with the solutions or maybe active participation. How we do it, it's definitely as a company you may have something else, as a foundation we do something else. Sunil as an individual entrepreneur will do his own duty. We all have to come up with the duty, but as a global thing as it is. Right now,
See,
what we talk about India versus others, which we'll have
you're
to
right.
change.
You are right. As an individual and responsible employee of this organization, I can tell you what we are doing. We are maintaining zero liquid discharge. We are managing all our food waste from the colony. We are biomethanizing it. We are maintaining our plastic waste recycling plant inside. We are all our waste are being incinerated. So all kind of 94% of our waste is being recycled, still being highly recyclable. We are not throwing anything outside other than slag. That also, if road making comes into great swing, perhaps we will be able to use our 100% slag. Blast furnace slag is being used in the cement plant. So as an industry and as a responsible environmental manager of this organization, I make sure that whatever responsibility is given to me is being completed. That was my international perspective in a different purview. But when it comes to responsibility, all Indians are, I think, responsible, and they will take the challenge, and we will be in a better position to do much better than what we are doing today.
That's a very encouraging thought. Very encouraging thought, I would say. Sunil or Karthik, would you like to say something on the things that thought? Like you would like to add something from your point?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I just want to pick one of the
questions.
questions, Mr. Maman, where you are saying why we are not generating hydro. Though
Yeah.
Mr. D.P.Singh answered, I want to add one perspective. In a hydro energy, you need 365 days water. It cannot be for that you have water for 3 months or 2 months and you can put a hydro plant. But you would be surprised to know that India is working on a new paradigm shift for hydroelectricity, which is called as pumped hydro.
Micro plants are there.
Micro, and there is another one, pumped hydro. So if there is a
Yes.
water flowing out, you push that water back to a higher altitude, put it in a reservoir, using the energy which is not used during off-peak hours, and when that water is there, then you again drop it from there. So we are already generating 5 gigawatt today from pumped hydro, and we are targeting to make it 10 gigawatt in next 2 to 3 years from pumped hydro. So
that's very interesting.
I want to add to what Mr. D.P. Singh, the government of the day or the country today is very open to new ideas. And one shoe doesn't fit all. It cannot be say that we'll be all hydro or all nuclear or all thermal. But we are making all the right moves across different spaces. Tomorrow, you don't know whether lithium ion will succeed or hydrogen batteries will succeed, what will happen. But we are making progress on all sides, and we are at a stage where we can suddenly scale up things whichever works best. Solar is the right example of that.
Specifically because of Nepal. My hydro thing was not anywhere else, but Nepal is throwing a lot of water to
That
us.
Mr. Singh answered. It's a geopolitical and ecological. You can't construct in Himalayas, and then the country have different issues. So that's a very. Even though I agree with you, Mr.
I've heard
Mehmet,
that China is now building it. Now China has got the permission to build. How China can get the permission?
China, it'll become a political answer that China is a so-called communist country, but it is not. So they can do whatever they wish to. India has been a democratic and it is a democratic country. So we will have to take people along.
That's true. That's true. Mr. Karthik, you were saying something, I guess. Kanchan, you can continue with your questions, please.
I think that topic for today is whether India will be on the way to achieve net zero emissions. I think yes, from that perspective, yes, we are on the way to achieving our net zero emissions. Like I'm telling that India is one of the signatory countries in UNFC, United Nations Framework for Climate Change Convention. So we are signatory to that, and our government is doing an audit like through MOAF, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. They are auditing in terms of how much CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, or climate change greenhouse gases coming from India from various sectors. Like if people in this forum are already aware of that, we have few sectors which are identified for greenhouse gas emissions. One is energy, the other one is agriculture, then we have transport, then we have waste sector, then we have land conversion. So there are various sectors which is already identified by the United Nations Framework for Climate Change, and India is also signatory to that, and we are supposed to come out with inventories of our greenhouse gases every year. So we have to give it since 1992 as on date, and 2019 like that. So every year India has to account the amount of greenhouse gases coming from that. So besides that, this is just an inventarization of the gases, greenhouse gases coming from India, each country. Besides India, each country has to give this. There are three areas by which climate change is addressed. One is inventarization, the second one is mitigation aspects, the third one is adaptation aspects. So when you say how we are going to achieve net zero emissions, we have to follow these three areas like inventarization, mitigation, and adaptation. So we are good in doing inventarization of greenhouse gases. Various agencies are working and giving the quantity of greenhouse gases coming from each sector, which I mentioned earlier. So besides that, there are various projects which people are working in mitigation sector. It's like once you know how much you are emitting, so then you have to go towards mitigation. So once mitigation is done, simultaneously adaptation of the people are also part of that. So you have three sectors in inventarization, mitigation, and adaptation. So and in these three areas, Indian government agencies, private agencies, all people are working at various levels. And Government of India is having a documentation of that in public profile as well as in the internet. So people can go to the various documents of Ministry of Environment, how we are good in doing, how much solar we are going, how much hydro we are going, how much waste we are handling. All these numbers are already there in the website platforms. So I think people should make utilization of that, and I'm pretty confident that we will be able to achieve before 2070. Yes, as again said, that it assumes, when you are assuming we are going to achieve net zero emissions, it assumes that all people are on level, matlab in a state of highest state, like human development index is very high, because you can achieve real emissions when you can achieve net zero emissions only if all people are on top. You can't say that there will be some poor people who will be growing and they will be contributing over a period of time. It's not possible. So it assumes that India is developed in 2070. Okay, not 100%, but at least to some percentage. So I think if you look at various government data, go to Ministry of Environment Forest, you will get these numbers.
Kanchan, you'll have to unmute yourself. Kanchan, you have to unmute.
Yes. Sorry. So actually, we are in the phase of this transition. This just transition that we need. Whether we are talking about resiliency building or adaptation, so we are in this phase of transition, which we have to smoothen it so that we can combat climate change.
True.
Do you want to introduce the other guest, Kanchan?
Actually, he could not join, so we have to bear with that. He was unable to join it. Okay.
So maybe I will introduce a better idea of 11 days for Earth healing, which we started, and we wanted your views on that. That what you think? Critical views, bad views, all are welcome, because that will give us the strength to develop our ideas and thought to the next level. So I just want when we during the lockdown, we came with this thought that when everything was locked all around the place, we saw a lot of climate became much better, much cleaner for those 11, 12, 15 days whenever the full lockdown was there. My idea was how we can retain this, because once we will go back to our normal life, we will not be able to retain this. It will be bad again. How to retain this? And from that thought, I think what we do actually 11 days of lockdown every year. We do it with the government's permission, and everybody does it properly, and it becomes a holiday, a different kind of a holiday where we are taking break from all the shit. At the same time, we are also giving back to the nature by helping the ecology, the entire ecological system, where even as small as insect or a bird or an animal, everybody needs to get that rest every year to be able to nurture and come back to gain more power, to give us a support system. But because the moment the ecological thing is balanced, we will have the more natural support to us. So that was the basic germ of the idea where we started from, and we started writing letters to everybody in the world. Every possible prime minister, presidents, we have written the letters, and we started getting a lot of feedback from them that it's a great thought, we must talk about it. And definitely India was not ready for something like this, because the moment we think of a lockdown, the first thing crosses our mind, हमारा पैसा कहाँ से आएगा, हम लोग का घर कैसे चलेगा? That is the biggest thought which crosses our mind. I've also thought about it, that how this 11 months before, one day every day of your life, you donate back to the company, and this 11 days comes to you free of cost, which is already paid off because you've already worked for those 1 days. Every month you have given 1 extra day of your life for your workplace, and in return you get 11 days of this leave, which is this leave is especially for taking a break, giving the break to the entire system. No construction, no traveling, no vehicle, nothing. You just live your life naturally, the way we were talking about natural life. Sunil, I think you mentioned about the natural life, which we already practiced 50 years back. Just in 50 years, today we don't go on a bicycle, we don't walk anymore. We want vehicle for everything. The kind of food we consuming. So can we come back to the natural resources for 11 days, whatever we have, and give this break to the whole climate and restart again? And this has to go every year. It doesn't mean that after 11 days we don't do anything. We also need to do a lot of individual practices across the world in a different form. Maybe Kashmir needs some other help, and then Rajasthan, because of the geography and because of the climatical differences. Same way America would need a different support system, and Nepal would need something else, and Indonesia would need something else. That we will work on. But a larger thought that we must start practicing this. There's 11 days of a lockdown, a proper lockdown where nothing moves, except the way during the lockdown only police and an ambulance and all those vehicles were moving. Nothing else moved. You have to lead your normal life. Is it a feasible thought, or it's a critical idea, or a bad idea, or a good idea? I would like to hear from the panel. Anybody who wants to start?
Yeah, I would like to start this. I think that's a very fair enough statement, and that's a very ideal condition. I fully support that giving a break to the environment. Like what has happened in the last 2 years, you see that pandemic breaking. I think nature itself took a break. It must have been battered by humanity since the last 30, 40 years. Increasing emissions, destruction of the marine ecosystems, everything. So I think nature itself took a break for last 2 years. You can see many parts of the world coming back. Nature coming into the highways. That was good enough. I think government should rethink about giving a kind of break. I don't know how many days we have to take, but the moment you say holidays, the moment you say leave, people rushed out like anything into Maldives. They are all going. You see all the Bollywood, Hollywood, they are all taking break and going and disturbing that serene environment. So when we say we should take a break, it doesn't mean that entertainment, pleasure, it's like that. We need to cut down on that. How do we do that? It's an ethical issue. It's a kind of a mental state. How people will individual people will think about that. I can't force my view on someone. So
Definitely.
how do
See,
we
this is a thought. Right now, we're starting this. We started this 2 years back only. During this lockdown, it crosses our mind that we
yeah,
must
it is
do
a
this
very
back.
good, it is a very good thought process, but how do we achieve, how do we ethically go about is a area of concern. I think maybe other experts can throw in their points of view. I'll stop here.
Sure, sure, sure. Mr. Singh or Sunil, anybody wants to talk about this?
Yeah, I just want to add that if I would have been an employee, it's a great idea. But
As an
but
employer,
as an employer and as a custodian of ecology today, I would want to work every 365 days. But those are jokes apart. As a practicality, I can just share my view that as an idea, it is good. Great idea to make a movie on, but practically it is very, very difficult. And there are not very sizable benefits also, because if you lock down people into houses, all we are avoiding is only commuting, only the emissions of the commuting. Apart from that, we are creating some other kind of emissions. So if you are locked into houses, you burn more electricity, you run more air conditioners, you create more disposable waste, you are eating more, you are creating a lot of demand for the content, which is eventually pushing the data centers to generate more demand for more electricity. So it is just that we look, the scenario of 11 days lockdown looked very nice, photogenic. So we can make a, and apart from that, on a ground reality, 70% of our country's workforce is in a very unorganized sector. So they step out today to earn for the livelihood, can come back in the evening to cook the meal for the family. And I have witnessed, though not in my earlier IT era, but for last 4 or 5 years, when I work on rainwater harvesting across Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, people are just eager to start every day. If my work stops for 5 days because of the rain or because of something, then the workers who are working, they say, when are we going to start? Because they don't have cash balances with them to sustain for 10 days, 15 days. And that's a reality. Whosoever is the responsible, I don't know. But in the rural, whenever you go to that segment of the society, they don't have a cash balance to, they just want to work every day to meet the livelihood. So I don't know what is the middle path. Yes, as an employee or as a person living in city, I would also want my environment to be clean and green and look very good, and maybe 11 days of holiday with the family into some mountain region. But whether it is practical or not, I don't know. I personally feel, I don't know whether it's feasible.
well, only one good thing is in last, good or bad, both the last 2 years, we have learned to live with the situation. At least if I would have come with this idea 5 years back, it was not even no-brainer, not even startup. You should not even have, you would not even have this discussion. But after
Mr.
going,
Mehman, I would say you are humble enough to say that. I often tell in my seminar that we were pushing nature to the wall, and in Corona, nature has pushed us back to the wall.
correct.
So we are adapting because of the ecology has forced us to rethink, and that's a good thing to have
So I think
happened.
because we have seen this, we have practiced this, it is maybe possible if we will start, if we continue to do this practice, if we take a break of 10 years and then again think of it, it might not happen. That's why I was thinking we should continue with the situation, and maybe we create a new festival where you don't need to lock it inside home. You can go walk, you can bicycle, you can run. Maybe you can even do party. Nobody's stopping you from doing party and living life if you have the capacity to do that. But let's not travel much. Then let's not. As I said, factories should be off. No construction. So it's all kind of places where we can create pollution, problem of pollution. Everything should be stopped. That's the basic thought. And at the same time, I also know that we have got late, and I started late because of me. I take the blame for all that. I'm really sorry about it. So if we have to catch up, maybe again we can create another forum next week or 10 days or a month's time, and we can have more discussion, because you at least know where we're coming from. What is our thought of bringing all this together? And it's not me or you, it's all of us has to work together globally. It's not India anymore. That's the main point which we wanted to bring into everyone. Kanchan, you would like to say anything on closing, or anybody else would like to say anything on the closing line?
I would just like to thank everybody, Karthik, Sunil, and Mr. Singh, all who have been here. And thank you so much for your expert comments. It has been really beneficial. And let's move on with this, and maybe we can join in again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so very much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
and
everybody.
coming here. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.